Good morning, all. Can you hear me in the back of the room? It got really quiet, so I'm going to take this opportunity to say good morning. And you are in the Engaging Private Property Owners to Control Stormwater on Site. Thank you for attending. This session will be recorded, but the question and answer section, or portion of this presentation, the recordings will be turned off. So feel free to ask all sorts of questions. And I am going to turn it over to Cari, who will introduce the panel and get us going.
Thank you. So I am Cari Simson with Urban Systems Design, and I have in the past created the Dirt Corps program, which is a maintenance, job training and maintenance program for green infrastructure, and so I'm really interested in how projects are designed and maintained. I also work with Joe Sullivan with the Rainwise Program in King County. And right now I'm also a consultant working with ECOS, the Environmental Coalition of South Seattle, and just interested in the stormwater work that they're doing. So, and with me today, we put this panel together specifically to show you regionally from Snohomish County through King County, and with Stewardship Partners, even a broader regional, that there's lots of really exciting work going on the regional basis on private property. And so today you'll hear from Aaron Clark, who's from Stewardship Partners, Joe Sullivan from King County, who manages the outreach for the Rainwise Program, Derek Hahn, who is an engineer with the Snohomish Conservation District, and Mary Rabourn with the King County Department of Natural Resources and Parks, who's working on a pilot project. So you'll hear this great spread of information. I am just curious of the folks in the room, who works for a like a city in the state, and who works for a county? Awesome. And who is design, construction, maintenance side of things, implementation? And who's working on public engagement, education? Okay. What am I missing? Nonprofits. Are there nonprofits in the room or consultants? Okay. So now I'm going to turn it over to Aaron Clark, who is, here, my one little slide. So today, this is what I meant to show you. We're going to engage, people are going to talk about how to engage the public in meaningful, tangible, and equitable ways, creating partnerships with private landowners to meet municipal permit requirements, and then solving stormwater problems at a site scale, which is a way potentially for you to reach out in your own jurisdiction. And then on the right are just some of the types of partnerships that everyone at this table has been working with. There may be others that you have and you want to add during the Q&A if you want to suggest other ways. So there you go.
Cool. Thanks, Cari. So as Cari said, I'm Aaron Clark. I work for Stewardship Partners. We're a nonprofit based in Seattle. We work Puget Sound wide, Western Washington wide, predominantly focused on landowner engagement. Putting environmental restoration tools into the hands of landowners who are already engaged, already want to do the right thing. And 20 years ago, this work started with conversations with farmers who said, we want to take care of the land, we want to bring salmon back to our property, we want our children and grandchildren to see these salmon running up the streams that have been on our property for generations, but nobody's going to help us. They're only going to wag their finger and tell us what not to do. So our organization was founded on that principle of, wow, that is an untapped resource. Let's put some power into those hands that know the land as well as anyone. So that's Stewardship Partners, that's who we are. The 12,000 Rain Garden campaign was something that we started with our friends at WSU Extension. Shout out to WSU. In 2011 to really kind of scale that up. So many things have come out of that. One I'm just going to put a shameless plug in for is our Sound Impacts Impact Metrics portal. This is an effort really to, I just came from a mapping session in the earlier session, really to try and bring together what are these things that people are doing, what are the impacts that they're having on a regional scale, how can we sync them up? And we started with stormwater, so we've got a lot of green infrastructure type projects. Of the 12,000 Rain Garden campaign, we've got over 6,000 now registered across the region. What is the impact of those? How many gallons of stormwater is that managing? How many acres of impervious surface is that taking care of? So soundimpacts.org. It's up, it's live. It's sort of in a version 1 mock-up, but it works. I recommend people take a look at it. One of the things that really matters for engaging landowners is money. Nothing really talks louder than money. So we've been trying to, as you probably all know, the NPDES permit system really created you could call it a lot of things. I will call it a grand experiment. Every jurisdiction was given a mandate to move the needle on stormwater and do it in all sorts of different ways, and a lot of different parts of that permit come together. Private landowners was one that a lot of folks have tried, and so a lot of folks have tried it a lot of different ways. We've been trying to gather together all of these different incentive programs to see what's working, what's not working, and for those of us in the outreaching and messaging world, it's hard to reach a very small audience. If you're trying to target, unless you do some social media weird, like George Orwellian style targeted messaging, these messages really need to be distributed on a really broad scale, and so that's what we're trying to do. We created this miniature Puget Sound in somebody's front yard as part of the Puget Sound Starts Here campaign, because Puget Sound really does start in your front yard, and made a few videos about it, but we also use this as a mock-up map for all the different incentive programs that we've seen. So we have on the 12,000raingardens.org site all these incentive programs listed and links to those programs. We try to keep it up to date as best we can. Sometimes those links go dead. Sometimes those programs disappear. Sometimes people don't answer the phone, but we do our best to keep everything up to date. And you can see that there's quite a variety. But there aren't programs everywhere. So in the last couple of years, we've been trying to figure out, okay, what if our organization could provide small mini grants, a model incentive program that jurisdictions could just buy into and we would manage it for them. So we started this with funding from King County because we work closely with the Rainwise Program that you'll hear more about, but that's a very geographic limited program. So we wanted to say, okay, bigger geography. All those people who have gotten that outreach and messaging and then looked on the website and aren't eligible, that's a huge lost opportunity. So we said, okay, here's a bigger map, here's a bigger area. It's a smaller incentive, but we've been trying it out, and so far, I checked this morning, we've given away, in the pilot phase, $27,000. We're managing 1.25 million gallons a year with those projects, equivalent to around 60,000 square foot of impervious area. $1 per gallon, it's a pretty good number, or $1 per acre. And yeah, it's something that's available to others. And I think that's my last slide. Yeah.
And I just want to say we brought a handout with some of those incentives offered throughout Western Washington, just because that website is incredible. And I just want to start by saying thanks to Aaron and Stewardship Partners for really developing these kind of tools and checking out ways to break down barriers that make green stormwater infrastructure available to so many. So I'm Jo Sullivan. I work for King County Wastewater Treatment Division. I work for the Rainwise Program, and we are a rebate program that is one of the most robust programs in the country that actually incentivizes private property owners to put in green stormwater infrastructure. The two things right now we fund are rain gardens and cisterns. So we're a joint team effort between Seattle Public Utilities and King County Wastewater Treatment Division. Both of our utilities have responsibilities to eliminate, control combined sewer overflows. So there's approximately 50,000 private property parcels that are eligible for Rainwise rebates, and these are on the left. As you look at the map, they're outlined in yellow. Those are combined sewer overflow basins. Some of them are SPUs and some of them are King Counties. The public doesn't need to know. They just need to know, oh my gosh, Rainwise, I'm in the yellow, I'm eligible. And oh my gosh, if they're not in the yellow, thank God for Aaron's Green Stormwater Infrastructure mini grants. And then you can compare our eligible Rainwise with our combined sewer overflow outfall locations on the right there. So Rainwise what we do, we hope to capture the rain that falls on a property's roof and manage it on that site. So we capture the rooftops, and the rain can go either into rain gardens or stormwater cisterns. And it's probably insulting your intelligence. You guys, I know, all know what rain gardens are, these wonderful shallow bowls with fabulous spongy soil where the water can infiltrate down into the ground. Stormwater cisterns capture the water and then let it slowly trickle out. And then they can have an outflow into a bioswale, a rain garden, or just back into the sewer system. But basically, they help take the peak out of the flow so we don't get the overflows. And we're communicators with the public. Cisterns, rainwater catchment. Oh my God, I'll save water in the summer. I'm all for this. Wow. So it's absolutely imperative to explain over and over again the stormwater cistern. And it's about, on the right there, is the low flow valve. That is actually closed, capturing the rain that's going to fall and to be used for watering. Well, if somebody has that valve closed, the first rain in early October, it's full, and it doesn't help at all. So our messaging to turn that, keep the valve open from the minute it starts raining in the fall to mid-April. So that, I think, is one of the most important messages we have. So at this point, we capture 51 acres of roof area, which we're kind of proud of. There's 2,000, over 2,000 projects right now, and these manage 25 million gallons of rainwater, and these are some happy Rainwise people. So it started as a residential program, really reaching out for homes that can do this on their own. Homeowners agreed to maintain their installations for 5 years. And then we've gotten really excited about big roofs. And what are big roofs? They're churches, synagogues, mosques, schools, both public and private, businesses, apartment buildings. Big roofs really give us big volume. And there's over 40 big roof projects to date. Big roofs, our definition is they capture at least 2,000 square feet, many times a lot more. Our biggest big roof project is in Rainier Beach. It's called Tiny Tots Development Center, and it's a nursery school and a church, and it's 21,000 square feet of roof area captured. So our rebate is $4 per square foot of roof area captured. And for cisterns, it's a little bit less. It's $250 to $390, depending upon the efficiency of the system. But with big roofs, we ask for a 10-year maintenance agreement, because you can see if we're paying out a giant rebate, that investment really needs to yield the results of helping to stop combined sewer overflows. The other really great thing about big roof properties, often they are demonstration projects. The congregation of the faith-based institution get excited, the neighborhoods get excited. We do interpretive signage, and oh my God, I know I have too many words there, anyone who was here in the first. But we do try to use the graphics that tell the story and the pictures. Oh, and here we worked with the group to come up with the quotes that they love. So, but yeah, just trying to leverage the excitement and catalyze interest in more people becoming Rainwise. And Rainwise depends upon contractors. We have approximately 30 contractors that are Rainwise trained contractors on our website, on our rosters. Homeowners, property owners actually get in touch with these contractors and make the deal with them, and then we come in and inspect and give the rebates. So we do 2 free contractor trainings, one in the spring and one in the fall, and just depend upon having really great contractors. So I just want to say, oh my God, I'm so lucky to work with the most amazing team. Sustainable Ballard, Cari's Urban Systems Design Team. Environmental Coalition of South Seattle does help us do multicultural outreach and recruit diverse contractors. Stewardship Partners, the Garden Hotline. There's just this network of getting the word out about GSI, and it's just amazing to be able to work with them.
Hi, I'm Derek. I'm an engineer with the Snohomish Conservation District. How many of you are familiar with conservation districts? How many of you currently are working with conservation districts? Not very many. So we need to increase that a ton. So conservation districts are a state entity, we're government, but we're the only government that can work on private property. We can do construction, we can talk to the homeowners. We're non-regulatory, which means that we don't turn people in if they're doing anything wrong, but we're a really good third party to go onto people's properties and give them a nuanced opinion on things that are going on. Historically, we've been focused on agriculture, but the possibility to partner with cities and partner with counties to do stormwater mitigation on private property is really in its infancy from the terms of conservation districts. When I came on in 2010, not very many conservation districts at all were doing that, but the potential for that is really, really high. So how this works is we have interlocal agreements with pretty much every city in our district and the county, and that allows the municipalities to pay us to go do work on private property. So that means that we can use city money to build rain gardens and take care of stormwater on private property, which is a huge problem for most municipalities. Just it seems to be a very common struggle, is that most of their stormwater problems are really coming from private property, and they've taken care of about as many problems as they can in the public space, and they need to start reaching out and engaging private properties. So what that looks like, there's a lot of different things that we do, but our main model is we go out and we do rain garden clusters. So we go into a neighborhood, we try and get 6 or 7 people in partnership with the city, with the master gardeners. We try and bring in as many partners as possible. And then we use our crew. We have a crew called the VCC, which is the Veterans Conservation Corps. It's an all-veteran corps that typically they're in some trying to get back into civilian life, some stage of trying to get back into civilian life. So we go out and we work them really hard. They get some really good life skills. And they learn how to engage with the public, and then they put rain gardens in the ground. We can do this really inexpensively. We usually do 6 to 7 for about $30,000, and it's a really great community engagement piece. It brings the neighborhood together. Everybody starts talking to each other. Sometimes you go into neighborhoods where people haven't really talked to each other, even though they've lived there for 10 years. We do the rain garden project. They start looking out for each other's rain gardens, and then 2 years later, it's a really tightly knit community. When we come into cities and do this, I usually initially get a lot of pushback from especially the public works crew, because they're like, you're doing all this work and it's just kind of a very little drop in the bucket. How come I'm not seeing, is this even worth it? Why don't we do just a larger system? We always start with this because we're trying to do a grassroots movement and get people involved and get people aware. You have to start with awareness. You can't just come in and force these private homeowners to do something they're not comfortable with, that they don't know anybody else who's done it. So it starts with education. It always starts with education, even though, yes, in terms of percentage of what you're taking care of from a stormwater issue may not be that high, it leads to better things. My favorite example is we did a bunch of these in Edmonds. I had a lot of pushback from the public works director. He did not like these projects. And then 2 years later, he had a massive problem where an entire cul-de-sac bulb and probably 300 feet of pavement was flowing onto this guy's property. They were looking at probably $100,000 to $200,000 project just to take care of the problem, and it probably wouldn't have been a long-term fix. The private homeowner was willing to put in a rain garden on his property to take care of all that water. City would not have been able to do that, but because we contracted with the homeowner, and then the city contracted with us, and we were able to put that in for $5,000 and completely take care of the problem. Since then, we've done a number of those types of projects. That was probably the first one we did. We did a huge project at the Qualco Dairy lately where we put in a 10,000 square foot rain garden that takes a huge area of the dairy that previously was discharging into the public space and infiltrates the entire thing on site. So again, there's just a ton of potential. A lot of this is in its infancy in terms of how we're using conservation districts. Come talk to me about it. We currently have an NTA grant to work in other districts to help them start these types of programs and get them working with their cities to do large-scale implementation of rain gardens on private property in partnership with municipalities. So, thank you. This is that rain garden at the Qualco Dairy.
potential. Thank you, Derek. I'm standing in for Jessica Engel, who really is doing dual duty. She's both the project manager on a couple of our pilot projects in unincorporated King County, and she's also looking into how we can build a program. I mean, we hope to grow up and be like Rainwise someday. How we can become a program in unincorporated King County for private property owners as well. So here you'll see, you know, generally, it's quite a diverse soil horizon across the county too. So that's going to be an interesting challenge. We have everything from very permeable to Osceola mud flow. So we have 2 pilot projects at the moment. We have Renton and Vashon on private property. And this is really a way for us to test a whole variety of things. Test our own system, see where the gaps are, see what our issues are. We have 2 very willing property owners, and this is the concept for transitioning their properties, and I mean their parking lots into a rain garden here and into small, sort of rain garden light in a very popular parking lot at a grocery store. Excuse me, must have swallowed my tooth. Okay, there we go. So, you may have noticed I have a lovely smile. The King County Green Stormwater Infrastructure Incentive Program is something else we're looking at. Literally, I just got the results of focus groups that we've been doing in English and also in Spanish. And what we're finding is, actually, you might like this, Derek. The veterans crews, folks are very interested in the veterans crews to do the installation. They just had questions about, and this will be a little bit of our messaging, questions about, you know, is this just a feel-good type of thing? Are these folks really qualified? Do they have experience? And, you know, we can easily address that. And they also, you know, are they legit? Because they're just, you know, people these days are getting robocalled by all kinds of interesting things. So we do have to just address that part. But the part that I thought was very interesting in my first glance at this data, and we'll do a further report and, you know, report out later, is that folks are very willing to consider rain gardens. Those are the most popular options that we heard back about. And then cisterns, although they were concerned about the ugly cistern issue, and probably that misunderstanding that you talked about, Joe. And then rain barrels. The other part that they really didn't like was planting plants and trees. Okay, we're gonna have to work on that one. Plants and trees, ugh. And they also were not interested at all in redoing their driveway or patio. So again, thinking about what's convenient, attractive, appealing to landowners. And the incentives that they were interested in were, will this lower my swim or other fees? Will I get an expedited permitting process? Remains to be seen. But they were really willing to look at this because of concerns about flooding, as Derek mentioned. And also, and this one I found kind of heartening. Their third most popular reason was they really were concerned about fish and wildlife and water quality. So we do have audiences out there in the unincorporated area, whatever their political spectrum, that are actually interested in the environment. And that's what we find with a lot of folks that move to this area, wherever they came from. They do want to try and help preserve our natural areas. So we can build on that, hopefully with beautiful, accessible rain gardens with some cool native plants that we slip in there. Again, we'll be reporting out on this. Jessica Engel will be giving a much more detailed report at another time, but any questions, I'll let her know. Thank you.